Greeting fellow Earth travelers and life doers. Coming at you on early Sunday afternoon. I was sitting here thinking about some life transitions I've had this year. Recently, I had started a new job, thought that I wanted to go back into the corporate world where I told myself there was probably more stability and better retirement and that sort of thing, only to quickly realize that that was not going to be a good fit for me. As I realized once I got into the role, realized some things, and some things became much more clear than they were before I had entered into the role. And so I exited, and I'm going back to where I left in the first place, actually starting tomorrow, which I'm actually excited about. So it cleared some things up for me. It was a short detour, and now I feel like I'm actually getting back on track. So that's good. But that prompted me to think about it's interesting when we're in a certain place in life and we're thinking about being somewhere different, or we're in point A, we're at point A, and we think that point B looks like a certain way, or maybe we're not even really thinking about point B very much at all. And I started thinking about, how does this tie back to other areas, specifically spiritually speaking, and how it's easy, especially as we are walking with God, or considering God. I think it's easy to settle into it's easy to settle into certain patterns of thought based on what we've been through, maybe how we feel about God. And so maybe you were raised and you had certain things fed to you about God, or maybe someone represented God in a certain way that was very off-putting to you, and so you made the decision, hey, if that's what God is about, I don't want anything to do with this. And I understand how that can happen. But going through this most recent experience about how I thought I could make this move back into corporate, and I felt like, I've grown in my life. At least I feel like I'm more mature. I can point to things in my life compared to 5-10 years ago and even more. It's like I have made progress. Nowhere near where I want to be, probably, or need to be, but I have made progress. And so I felt like I could make this change and go back into this environment with more stability. Maybe that's the right way to put it. Just with a greater understanding of how things happen in a corporate environment, in a bigger business environment, and thought I could navigate this better. And then once I got into it, was like, oh, no, this is really not for me. And it just made me realize, now this is exactly as it was when I left it over a decade ago. Well over a decade ago. And it hasn't changed, and it's still the same. And yes, I have changed, but I have zero desire to deal with this, to live the rest of my time that I have on this earth career-wise and anything else, I just don't want to go out that way. I don't want to spend my remaining, hopefully, years of my life and working life in something that I just don't enjoy. And so it got me to thinking that for those that they really don't want anything to do with God, don't want to talk about God, don't want to think about God, already have a set frame of mind about God and just want to live their lives. Don't want to be bothered with it. Don't talk to me about it. Don't want to hear it. And so it got me to thinking, well, and I do believe this, but just for the sake of conversation, let's call it, what if you get to the end of your life, or what if, by saying you, I mean a person that is indifferent about God, agnostic, atheist, whatever. But that person gets to the end of their life thinking one thing and then passes away and wakes up to the reality that, oh, this is way different than what I thought. I didn't give any thought to this. Can I have a do-over? Can I go back? Can I call upon that mercy stuff? And at that point, it's too late. And so we think these certain things about God. It's like, well, if God was real, then he would do this, and that. If God was real, then why does he allow this and that to happen? Or if there was a God, wouldn't all of these things be resolved? I mean, we can go on and on about reasons as to why we hate God, why we don't believe God exists, all of these things. And so we tend to have these thoughts about God and why things are the way they are, or why things aren't different. Just all of those schools of thought. They're a certain way, but we want it to be this way. Why isn't God doing this? So we put these things onto, well, I was going to say onto God, or it's like we want to create him in our own minds to be a certain way. And when it isn't that way, when it doesn't work out to be the way that we want to, then we just say, well, forget it. I'm just going to choose to not believe at all, or just simply not to care and live my life. And so we give up. We just go completely to the extreme, instead of maybe looking at it as, gosh, this isn't what I want. This isn't what I prefer. But maybe there's other reasons for this. Maybe God really does have a reason for doing things the way that he does them. Maybe there's a reason why not everyone gets healed. Maybe there's a reason for suffering and injustice and all of these different things. It's not that God rejoices in these things, and I'm not here in this video to tackle what those reasons are. The point is just that sometimes things are just what they are. And I would just throw out there for thought that maybe there's deeper reasons beyond our understanding, beyond what we know, what we realize. Just like me thinking, oh, I'm going to be able to do this and jump into this position, and it's going to be okay. Then once I get there, a whole nother level of understanding opens up, and there are things that I just didn't see and just didn't realize. didn't fully comprehend. It didn't hit me to the point that that it would once I actually got into that role. I really don't think it's that much different spiritually with God. I think we're at where we're at in this world. The world is what it is. There are reasons that God moves in the way that he does. There are reasons that he does what he does. He is who he is. And so a lot of it is beyond our understanding. Some of it is not beyond our understanding in this earth, but it may be beyond our understanding where we're currently at in life, in our understanding or our perception of things. And so if we give it time to grow, to mature, to think things out, to talk through things with people that are, let's say, further down the road than we are, but those things take time. We get into these mindsets and these habits and just ways of thinking about things, and we just tend to stay stuck in that, kind of in inertia. Object in motion tends to stay in motion. We just kind of stay in the thinking that we know. And so it is good, whether you're a believer, not a believer, just don't care at all. It's good. I make the point or the contention that it's good to challenge yourself. Don't just stay stuck and not be open to having conversations. After all, what's wrong with having a conversation? Now, I understand you can be not stuck, but feel confident in your belief. Okay, that's fine. Okay, I'm confident in my belief and where I'm at. And I understand that as an agnostic or an atheist, you may be very confident in your belief and where you're at. But that doesn't prevent us, or it shouldn't, from being able to have just an honest conversation and just challenging one another and sharpening one another and bringing points of view up and actually being open in a sense and talking through those things. And so, yeah, I think that is a good and a healthy process, and there's nothing at all wrong with doing that. But when we get super locked down, I don't think that's ever healthy. And I think when I say it's good to be open, I'm not saying that you have to even be open to, or being open has to lead to you changing your point of view or changing your mindset. If it does, and it grabs a hold of you, a truth grabs a hold of you and causes you to really begin to think and to change, then great. And if it doesn't, then okay. But at least be open. When both people, I would say when there is humility present in both people, right? There's a willingness and just a gentleness and a soft-heartedness one to the other, and one is not militant or angry towards the other, but it's just, hey, I'm here and you're here. And we're both humble, and we're both going to be gentle towards one another. Let's have a conversation and really talk it out. We're both going to be honest. We're both going to be transparent, and let's talk this out. And so, just to recap all of this, what I'm getting at is we're all limited in our understanding to a certain measure. None of us know it all. We all come from different upbringings. We've all formed different opinions, different convictions. We all have conscience. We all have a conscience. And so, yes, that conscience is malleable. And so that can change from one person to another. But again, we are all limited in our understanding. We're at where we're at. We know what we know. And so it's okay to say, I'm going to move forward with what I know and with where I'm at. And then as I learn, then I will make changes, right? As I grow, as I mature, then I'll make little course corrections and things. And yes, there are fundamental core things, like as a believer, I can tell you there's nothing that is going to change my belief in God. There just isn't. That is a core principle for me, a core value, a core belief for me. That is not going to change. How I feel about Jesus is not going to change. But that doesn't prevent me from hearing someone else's point of view and having a conversation with that person and listening to where they've come from and where they're at currently and where they're going. And hopefully that doesn't prevent them from doing the same thing with me. So I would just encourage you, don't be afraid to open up and to start conversations and to ask questions. Be willing, be open. And you might say, well, Brian, by you saying that those are your core beliefs, or you're also saying that you're not willing or you're not open. So I understand that point of view. And my core beliefs are what they are. Your core beliefs are what they are. But within those core beliefs, there are, like I said, there are course corrections, right, within those core beliefs. And so I would imagine there's the same thing for you. And someone else may not be as settled in what they call their core beliefs. And so if that's the case, then let's talk it through so that you can become completely settled in what you believe. And sometimes it's just, it is what it is. So let's just say, and by that, I'll clarify, but on the spiritual front, you may say, Brian, I'm an atheist. I don't believe in God, and I know that you do, and that's not going to change for me. Okay. We can still have conversations. We can still talk about things without belittling one another. But you know, my belief is going to be that as an atheist, there's an outcome to that, right? I do believe that hell is real. I do believe that Jesus Christ is the only way to heaven. Those are my core beliefs. But I would hope that you would not belittle me for that. And I'm not going to belittle someone that is an atheist or an agnostic. Belittling doesn't do anyone any good. So we can still respect one another and have genuine and authentic conversation about these things. And maybe it's possible, right? From my point of view, I'm thinking, well, I understand that you're telling me that you're solid in your core belief, and I'm telling you that I'm solid in my core belief. So I imagine to some degree we're both thinking, well, let's see if I can nudge you. Okay, well, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I know we're both thinking you're not going to nudge me. So, okay, we're both thinking that. It's out in the open. We both know that. So let's talk. Let's talk it through. What's holding you back? I may say, what's holding you back? Why are you agnostic? Why are you atheist? And you may say, why do you believe these things? To me, it sounds ridiculous or crazy. We need to be careful with the words that we use. But you may say, That just makes no sense to me. I really have trouble understanding why you believe this way. So talk me through it. So, and I think those kinds of interactions are good. Okay, so wrapping this up, be open, be humble, be gentle. Things aren't always what they seem, right? Just like with the job thing. Things aren't always what they seem. So dialogue is good, conversation is good. And it allows us to, I think, judge ourselves, think our core beliefs through as they're challenged. And it does sharpen us and, excuse me, challenges us to really become stronger in what we believe. And so those kind of interactions, I believe, are a good thing. So I know that part of this was maybe some rambling. I definitely don't try to do that, but sometimes it's hard to avoid. But I hope I was at least clear enough to get some points across, and hopefully it was a blessing to you in some way. So I'm going to go get back at it and do what I normally do on my time off and my tinkering and projects and things. And I do hope that this video finds you well in life, and I sure wish you the best and talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.